He was a rising star in the community.
And he was a role model as he was getting ready to become a law enforcement officer.
She was a beautiful woman who longed to meet Mr. Right.
They were attracted to each other. They did what men and women do.
But their budding romance was snuffed out in a hail of gunfire.
He was shot in the back at least twice.
You'd be the last person you figure something like this would happen to.
The search for the killer would unearth a terrible secret.
It was a scandalous situation in the community.
The motive in this case is an ancient one.
Do you want your wife having a booty call?
My mind started really spinning.
We had ministers preaching from the pulpit that anyone involved was a damn liar.
It caused for a minute a rift between some in the community because it was one or the other.
There would be discussions about how he wasn't there, he wasn't involved.
This guy is garbage. He's nothing but a thug. They should bury him under the jail.
Wednesday, May 11, 2011, Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's midnight in the city's near north neighborhood.
Is a family-oriented part of town. Everyone's connected.
There's this strong feeling of community.
But that illusion of peace is quickly shattered by the sound of gunfire.
Squad cars responded and checked the area, but didn't really have anything more to work on other than a general area and hearing gunshots.
Nearby, resident Arlene Howelton is getting ready for bed when she hears a commotion outside the apartment building she shares with her two grandsons.
I was in the back sleep, and I heard some faint shots, but it sounded far away, so I just laid back down and went to sleep.
But when Arlene steps outside, she's immediately caught off guard. Her other grandson, 27-year-old Kristopher Miller, is lying on the front porch.
We gotta get you in the house. My mother called me and said, Chris is laying on the porch, and we can't get him up.
Initially, she just thought he was unconscious or passed out, and then went to get like a cold compress to put on his head.
It isn't until Arlene kneels down beside Chris that she sees the blood.
He wasn't moving, he wasn't breathing, and so my mother called an ambulance. I need help, my grandson's been shot! My grandson's been shot! I need help!
Officers converge on Arlene's home.
Our initial examination of the scene was that we knew that he had been shot in the back at least twice.
It was a fatal shot in the manner in which went through. It tumbled, did tremendous damage.
Was Arlene's grandson the intended target or the innocent victim of a random attack? Police aren't sure, but one thing is clear. Chris Miller's death will send shockwaves through the entire near North community.
You'd be the last person you figure something like this would happen to.
Kristopher Miller was born in Minneapolis in 1984. Chris's mother, Mardella, was a principal, and his uncle, Richard Green, was the first African-American superintendent of both New York City and Minneapolis public schools.
Education is part of our family.
But Chris had a different dream.
He wanted to be a police officer. I think the first time he told me that he had to be about 12.
After high school, Chris pursued his dream of becoming a policeman by studying criminology. While in school, a position as a community service officer opened up at his alma mater, North High School.
Our community service officer program has been an entry-level place for people to try to get into the field of law enforcement.
Chris jumped at the opportunity.
It was an important role for him to serve. The kids at the high school had someone that they could respect and look up to.
He'd make sure the kids weren't go to class and keep the hallway safe and whatnot. And he counseled some of them, too.
The principal at Minneapolis North High called him, in fact, the quasi-dean of students.
But while Chris's career was taking off, his love life had run aground. He fathered 2 young daughters, but was unable to keep a steady relationship. Nevertheless, Chris strived to be a loving father.
Oh, he was a very good father. Made sure they had everything they needed.
He really, really thought they were the best thing in his life.
Chris even took a second job to help support them, working nights tending bar at the local Elks Club. It was there one night in 2011 that a stunning woman, dressed to the nines, walked up to the bar. Her name was Kim Griffin.
She's a very attractive woman, and there were others there at the club that were vying for her attention.
Game on right now, y'all good? Okay.
Whiskey neat.
Whiskey neat. And who's ordering this whiskey neat?
Kim.
Kim. How you doing, Kim? Chris.
Although Kim was 10 years older than Chris, the connection was undeniable. Like Chris, Kim was newly single and trying to raise a family on her own. But that wasn't the only thing Kim and Chris had in common.
She was interested in law enforcement. I think that was kind of a bond between he and her.
Although Kim's reasons for pursuing a career as a police officer were far more personal and tragic than Chris's.
Kim's son had been shot and killed the year before.
It was a very violent gun death, and she was just beside herself when she found out that he was killed.
Kim's vulnerability triggered Chris's protective instincts.
She took a criminal justice course, and he helped her because he had already taken it.
However, it didn't take long for these study sessions to grow into something more.
I just want to thank you for being here, for helping me, because I know that if you weren't here, that I wouldn't be able to do this, so thank you.
They were attracted to each other. They did what men and women do.
She started casually seeing Chris Miller at the time.
With such an intense attraction, it was hard for Kim and Chris to keep their hands off each other. But they both wanted to build something that would last.
Wait. I think we need to slow it down.
Yeah, babe, whatever you like. Whatever you like.
It proved to be the right move. A few weeks into their relationship, and Chris and Kim's bond was growing stronger by the day.
She seemed to be very much into Chris. Chris was very much into her.
And when Kim got word that she passed her criminology course, Chris planned a special celebration for her at the Elks Club and invited his sister Lisa and her boyfriend Leon to join them.
We're so happy to hear that she passed that test.
Thank you. He helped. I mean, it wouldn't have been possible without him.
She just felt like unwinding or celebrating being done with finals.
Shortly before midnight, the foursome decided to call it a night. Chris walked Kim out to her car.
I really like you. A lot.
I like you a lot, too.
And after a steamy goodnight kiss, headed home. But less than 30 minutes later, Chris Miller would be dead. And as homicide detectives process the scene, they can't fathom why anyone would want to murder someone like Chris.
He was very well liked, and I don't think there's anybody that could say anything bad about him.
But soon, an eyewitness will reveal that at least one person hated Chris with a passion. A person whose very existence would prove there was a dark side to Chris and Kim's budding romance. In the early morning hours of May 11, 2011, the fledgling romance between aspiring police officers Chris Miller and Kim Griffin was forever put on ice when Chris was found dead outside his North Minneapolis residence, the apparent victim of multiple gunshot wounds. Responding officers recognized Chris from their service officer program and can't seem to fathom who on earth would want to hurt a guy like Chris.
Christopher Miller was a glowing example of success in the African-American community and in the other community for that matter.
Officers are soon joined at the scene by Chris's shell-shocked family.
My nephew called me about 1 o'clock in the morning, and he was hysterical over the phone. All I heard was Chris and killed, and I kind of dropped my phone and kind of stared off into space for a little bit.
I was shocked. The community was shocked because they knew him. He was beautiful. He was wonderful.
As responding officers attempt to console Chris's family, detectives begin processing the crime scene.
We scoured the area looking for any sort of bullet casings, which would help us to identify if a semi-automatic gun was used.
They find no shell casings, which suggests the killer used a revolver, but makes further identification of the murder weapon impossible.
That type of gun just doesn't mark bullets well.
Our initial thought is that it could be a robbery because of the time of night. He's on his front steps, and he had an empty cell phone holder.
However, it doesn't take investigators long to track down Chris's phone.
Do you know where his cell phone is?
Yeah, I got it right here in my pocket. I called 911 with it.
Generally, if you're going to have a robbery, there's going to be pockets turned out. There's going to be shoes pulled off or kind of an obvious sign of some sort of loss. And there was nothing of that.
With robbery ruled out, investigators speculate Chris might be the victim of a drive-by shooting.
If his wallet and his cell phone are still sitting there, it could be gang initiation.
Sadly, gang violence has become a problem in the North neighborhood in recent years.
It's not an uncommon call to get sometimes 5 to 6 to 10 or more reports of shots fired in an evening.
Several neighbors report hearing the gunshots, but none claim to have seen anything suspicious, except for one man.
He heard bang. Then he heard a guy going, help me.
I heard a gunshot, and then I saw this guy run out and jump in a car and race down the street.
The man tells police that after hearing the shots, he peered out his front window and saw an African-American male get into a white Cadillac and drive off.
The wild thing about it was, after I hit the gunshot, he's driving in reverse.
Putting the white Cadillac in conjunction with what we had learned at the scene led us to believe that whoever owned that white Cadillac could be involved in Kristopher Miller's murder.
Detectives pull surveillance footage from the neighborhood's safe zone cameras, which are programmed to turn on when shots are fired.
One of the reasons they put up the safe zone cameras is just because of situations like this.
There was one that was supposed to be covering the actual intersection near where this murder took place, but that camera wasn't working at the time.
With no way to access the surveillance footage, investigators turn to Chris's family, in particular, Chris's sister, Lisa.
How'd you find out about Chris?
I called his phone and his mother answered.
His mother answered the phone, and I asked her where he was, and she said he was gone. I said, gone where? She said, somebody killed him. And I said, I just left Chris.
So you've been with him tonight?
Yes, we just left the club about an hour ago. It was me, my boyfriend, and this new person he started dating, Kim.
Lisa Miller said that she was with Kim Griffin and Chris Miller, and that they had recently left the Elks Club.
He came and got in his truck. We waved at each other, and that was the last time I saw him. They said, did anybody see anybody lurking around?
She indicated that when they left the Elks Club, Kim Griffin pointed out a white Cadillac.
She looks over to her friends and says, looks like I got a stalk.
My stalker over there.
Are you serious?
He just shows up and just watches. It is weird.
I said, where, in that white Cadillac? And she said, yeah.
It's a startling revelation. But who's the driver of the white Cadillac? And what's their connection to Chris and Kim?
You know how to get a hold of Kim?
Yes, I think I have her number in my phone.
Detectives obtain Kim's phone number and try calling, but get no answer.
She was considered missing at that point because nobody had saw her, and she wasn't at the scene with the rest of the people that had left together. We feared that maybe she could have been a target as well.
Worried they might have a second murder on their hands, investigators track down Kim's home address. When they arrive, they are relieved to discover Kim is safe and sound.
We wanted to come talk to you tonight about Chris. We haven't been able to get a hold of you.
Yeah, I've been sleeping. What is it?
Well, I got some bad news for you. Chris is gone. He's been shot, and he didn't make it.
Detectives inform Kim of Chris's murder. The similarity between Chris's death and that of her own son makes it even harder for her to stomach.
He was murdered just a year before the death of Kristopher Miller. So she was dealing with the demons that obviously were confronting her with respect to, is this worth it? You know, I mean, what have I done to deserve these kinds of tragedies?
We need to talk to you about your evening at the club.
After composing herself, Kim confirms that she and Chris were at the Elks Club earlier that evening. Kim also admits that her and Chris's relationship was beginning to fire on all cylinders.
Kim described their relationship as someone that she enjoyed being with.
We were close. We were together.
Can you tell me anything about the Cadillac tonight?
But when detectives question Kim about the white Cadillac and her offhanded stalker comment, she starts to backtrack.
But she basically disavowed the statement. She did say to the police that it was a joke.
Is Kim Griffin hiding something? If so, who is she trying to protect? For starry-eyed lovers Kim Griffin and Chris Miller, the night of May 10, 2011 was supposed to be one of celebration. But after an evening at the Elks Club, Chris has been murdered on his own front porch.
Kim was just beside herself when she found out that he was killed.
At least until police question her about a supposed stalker in a white Cadillac.
What about Cadillac tonight, a white one? Somebody told me that was with you, that you told them you knew who it was.
No. It was just a joke. There wasn't a white Cadillac.
She started to backpedal a little bit and just kind of shy away from really confirming that was the car.
Kim's hesitation raises red flags with detectives.
Homicide 101, you start with the people closest to the victim.
Could Kim somehow be involved in the murder of her own boyfriend? In order to find out more about her, detectives reach out to Kim's ex-husband, a local pastor named Derek Griffin. Like Chris Miller, Pastor Griffin and his family are pillars of the community.
Derek Griffin was an associate pastor at his father's church in North Minneapolis, True Vine Missionary Baptist Church.
Their reputation is excellent, starting with the father, the Reverend Jesse Griffin. As I said, he's been a pastor now for probably close to 40 years.
First off, we just want to thank you for your cooperation, letting us in and talking with us. We just want to talk to you about Kim.
Pastor Griffin explains that while he and Kim keep in touch, he hasn't seen her in quite some time.
She's my ex-wife. She has a life and I have mine.
In fact, he's been dating another woman named Ruby Klingsdale.
Derek, at the time, was living with his girlfriend.
And we'd like to know if you know this man, Chris Miller, the ex-wife's been seeing.
We placed a picture of Kristopher on the table and asked him if he knew who this person was.
Looking at the photos, Pastor Griffin seems confused. He's heard Kim's been seeing someone, but his name isn't Chris.
I know of this guy Mike she's been seeing at the Elks Club.
Investigators are taken aback. Is it possible Kim Griffin is seeing two men at the same time? And could this mystery man named Mike be responsible for coworker Chris's death?
Maybe jealousy drove him, to commit this horrible act.
The following morning, detectives pay Mike a visit at the Elks Club.
You Mike?
Yeah, who wants to know?
We're with the police department. We need to ask you a couple questions.
About?
You know Chris Miller?
Yeah, I know Chris.
Did you know he was shot last night?
He was shot?
Though he seems surprised by Chris's death, detectives press Mike for an alibi.
Can you account for your whereabouts? Where were you last night?
I was out with some friends.
Can you verify that? Can I get a friend's number?
Yeah.
Mike's friends ultimately confirm his alibi. As for his relationship with Kim, Mike claims it's just a fling.
What was it, just sex? I mean, you guys just hanging out, having a good time?
Strictly sex, that was it.
So that's kind of her thing. She just comes in, picks up a guy, and...
Pretty much, yeah, that was her MO.
I think this was an opportunity for a booty call that was set up over a period of time.
Apparently, he wasn't Kim's only romantic conquest. She regularly visited the club and was always on the prowl.
So what's your name?
JJ.
What you looking for tonight?
Just a good time.
Mr. Miller wasn't the one and only. She was seeing a few men.
For investigators, Mike's statement only makes the pool of potential suspects that much deeper.
There also were a lot of questions about what the heck is going on here.
All these people were part of that circle, and it was very confusing to kind of narrow it down.
Well, that's what we needed. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Investigators decide it's time to bring Kim Griffin in for a formal follow-up interview. They start by grilling Kim about her alleged sexual exploits.
Now, when we first spoke with you about Chris, you seemed very devastated at the loss. You didn't mention your club scenes, the men you've been bringing into your life. What can you tell us about that?
Kim is surprisingly forthcoming.
Yes, I am seeing other men. It happens often. I was in a marriage for a long time, and now I'm single. So I'm enjoying my life.
She was cooperative in the sense that she answered our questions and continued to speak with us.
That's when Kim drops a bombshell.
You only see guys at the club? I mean, is that mostly who you see?
Mostly.
Turns out there was one more man still in her life, one with whom she had a long sexual history. Pastor Derek Griffin.
Derek Griffin?
Yes.
Your ex-husband?
Yes.
Kim told us that they had started some divorce proceedings a while back, probably within the last year and a half prior to this murder happening.
Some of their troubles centered around the death of Kim's son. It was a very violent gun death, and I think that can do one of two things. It can either pull people apart or it can bring them together, and in this case, it took them apart.
But according to Kim, those divorce proceedings were never finalized.
Kim didn't know what the status of that was. She considered herself divorced.
Though Kim claims the same couldn't be said for her husband, the pastor.
She told us that he had been stalking her for quite some time, showing up at random places. He would just sort of pop up into her life at his own leisure.
Detectives ask Kim to elaborate, but before she can, the interview is interrupted.
Excuse me, can I answer this?
Her phone rang and she answered it. It was a fairly quiet, brief conversation, but you could make out her telling whoever was on the phone that she was down at the police station.
By the time the call is over, Kim's demeanor has changed.
I'm finished answering questions.
Which only deepens the mystery. Who was on the other end of that call? And who is Kim trying to protect? The answer to those questions would expose a tale of lust, jealousy, and revenge. And in the process, rip the close-knit community of near North Minneapolis apart at the seams. In an effort to track down Chris Miller's killer, investigators have discovered that his girlfriend Kim Griffin has allegedly been seeing several other men and is still technically married to her estranged husband, Pastor Derek Griffin. But before Kim can shed any more light on this last statement, she receives a phone call and after a brief conversation, doesn't want to answer any more questions.
Is there anything we might need to know about? Anything?
No, I think if we're done, I'm finished answering questions.
It seems Kim is trying to protect someone, but who? Her estranged spouse or one of her other alleged lovers? With Kim keeping quiet, investigators follow up with their initial eyewitness, the victim's sister, Lisa Miller.
We'd like to go back to the night of the crime. Did anyone notice anything as you left in the parking lot?
Well, there was one thing.
What Lisa says blows the lid off the investigation.
Kim looked across the street and pointed out this white Cadillac.
When we were locking up, she turned around and looked in the kitty corner across the street. She said, "Look at my husband over there stalking me."
She said specifically there was her husband stalking her again.
Yes.
There was no doubt in her mind the person in the white Cadillac was Derek Griffin.
Lisa's statement seems to place Pastor Griffin in a car spotted at both the club and the crime scene. And that's not all.
We checked motor vehicle files and see that he has a white Cadillac registered in his name.
Based on this information, investigators decide to arrest Derek Griffin on suspicion of murder. The charges aren't binding, but they do allow investigators to obtain search warrants for Pastor Griffin's cell phone, his house, and his white Cadillac. As they wait for a judge to sign off on their warrants, detectives take another crack at interrogating Pastor Griffin.
So why don't we go over again where you were the night of the murder?
I was on the other side of town with my lady friend. I was nowhere near that murder.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people on this side of town saying they saw you that night.
Detectives inform Pastor Griffin that his car was spotted in multiple Northside locations on the night in question. which prompts the Reverend to change his story.
You weren't on this side of town at all?
Well, I was on that side of town. I went to go see a friend.
He said that he was in the area to pick up a bottle of alcohol from an acquaintance of his.
Mr. Griffin left the home, went to a friend's house to get a bottle that he had asked for, and hung out there for about 15, 20 minutes, and then went back home.
Pastor Griffin explains that the reason he initially lied is that as a minister, he was embarrassed to admit he drank alcohol.
He didn't want to be considered a hypocrite preacher.
But while he admits he's a drinker, Pastor Griffin is adamant that he's no stalker.
We've heard stalking type behavior before. Time or two, you have followed your wife?
Followed my wife? No, if anything, it's the other way around. I divorced her. There's no reason for me to stalk her.
But shortly after filing the initial paperwork for the divorce, the pastor started having second thoughts and worried that divorcing a woman who just lost her son wasn't the Christian thing to do.
He had filed for divorce, but let the petition lapse.
He still loved his wife. The two of them had lost a child.
But Pastor Griffin claims that even though he and Kim were still married, they came to an agreement about seeing other people.
They each had their various significant other.
Investigators are skeptical.
Do you want your wife, even if you're separated from her, going down to the Elks Club, having a booty call with someone else that you might know?
Pastor Griffin admits to knowing his wife is seeing other men, but that doesn't make him a killer. And unless detectives can dig up some additional evidence tying him to the murder, they'll have no choice but to let him go.
Under the rules of evidence in Minnesota, you get 36 to 48 hours to present charges once a person is arrested.
With investigators racing against the clock, word of the pastor's arrest is made public.
We had ministers preaching from the pulpit that anyone that said that Derek had been involved in the murder of Christopher Miller was a damn liar.
Likewise, Chris Miller's friends and family stage a vigil to celebrate Chris's memory and demand justice for his murder.
It seemed like people were coming from everywhere to support us. I didn't know that he had touched so many people's lives.
It caused a rift between some in the community because it was one or the other. You either sided with the Millers or you sided with the Griffins.
Just as tensions are about to boil over, the search warrant for Pastor Griffin's personal belongings finally comes through. With the clock ticking, detectives can't help but wonder, are they on the trail of a killer or on a witch hunt for an innocent man? In the wake of Chris Miller's murder, detectives have discovered that Chris's new love interest, Kim Griffin, has been leading a double life. And they've arrested Kim's husband, Pastor Derek Griffin, on suspicion of murder. But without additional evidence, making those charges stick will be difficult.
I did know that there were circumstances that we needed to prove and that we would have maybe some obstacles in our way to do that.
There's a religious connection there, there's a community connection, there's a social connection. And that all came into play.
Amidst this chaos, a judge grants detectives requests to search Pastor Griffin's cell phone, car, and house. Detectives start by examining Derek's cell phone records from the night of the murder.
Police saw that Derek Griffin's phone was in use around this time, and it was bouncing off the towers closest to the crime scene in the Elks Club. That put him in the area.
The cell phone records do more than just place Pastor Griffin in the area of the shooting. They place him in direct contact with his wife, Kim.
Kim texted Derek and said something to the lines of, I guess I don't need to tell you that I'm going home now because you already know. Meaning you just saw me leave. But it was just kind of such a strange, out of sorts thing for her to say.
The text suggests Derek was indeed stalking Kim the night of Chris's murder, but investigators also find another call that Pastor Griffin made to Kim.
When she was down in her office, she received a phone call and told the person on the other end that she was at the police station. It was Derek calling her.
There were a couple phone calls to her as it pertains to making sure that her mind was right. There was pressure being put on her.
The phone calls and text messages are telling, but the search of Pastor Griffin's home also turns up new evidence.
We recovered a firearm that we believe to be the murder weapon. It was a revolver, and it had ammunition that had been recently changed out. Given the information that we had about the case, we believed that it was the firearm that took Chris Miller's life.
As if that wasn't enough, investigators are able to obtain other circumstantial evidence.
We recovered surveillance video from about a block away from where the murder was, some footage from a nearby business that allowed us to forensically match Derek Griffin's car as being in the area.
We have his wife saying, "There's my husband, the stalker," gesturing to a white Cadillac. We had people in the neighborhood seeing a white car after hearing gunshots. We have his white Cadillac being driven away on camera right after the murder. We have his cell phone record showing that he's in the area at the time of the murder.
Still, it seems the pastor's motive for murdering Chris Miller is flimsy at best.
If he was with another woman, why he'd murder Kristopher Miller?
How do you go and claim jealousy and obsession with your estranged wife, and then you run off to your girlfriend's house?
No sooner have they posed that question than investigators find a possible answer. In Kim Griffin's phone, of all places.
Police found a number of sexual text messages from some guy. His name was Mike.
Based on their previous conversations with Kim, investigators are able to surmise that this is the same Mike from the Elks Club that Kim's been seeing. But that's not all. According to Kim, Pastor Griffin had recently paid her a visit.
A few days before the crime, he apparently saw her and, took the opportunity to look at her phone and found a number of sexual text messages. And apparently this just set him off, even though the two of them had been separated for a year and a half, and even though he was living with another woman.
Detectives now believe that jealousy is Pastor Griffin's primary motive. On May 16, 2011, they officially charged Reverend Derek Griffin with first-degree murder.
In our younger years, we were pretty close. I never thought he would have done anything like that.
I can't understand. This is supposed to be a minister,
Chris Miller's family aren't the only ones who are shell-shocked. The murder charge drives an even deeper wedge between an already divided community.
The division was deep. It was very deep because of the powerful forces that initially sided up in this situation. Well, that begins to have a troubling effect in the community.
But as the case heads to trial, one woman in the community remains noticeably silent on the subject of Pastor Griffin's guilt or innocence. His wife, Kim.
She was torn in a couple of different ways. She had a fondness for Mr. Miller, but I think just as much, she was really beside herself that they were targeting my client.
Kim's silence begs the question, will she be testifying for the prosecution or the defense? Turns out the answer is neither.
Because they were still married at the time, Derek Griffin could invoke that spousal privilege and essentially block her from testifying. We believe that Kim Griffin would have been a pretty instrumental witness for the prosecution.
The concept of spousal privilege is, if you're my spouse, you can't be forced to testify against me.
With Kim Griffin banned from testifying against her husband, Derek, on January 9, 2012, the trial begins. Prosecutors open by laying out their theory of why Pastor Griffin murdered Chris Miller. It started when Pastor Griffin laid eyes on the saucy text messages between Kim and her lover Mike and decided to end their affair the Old Testament way.
Jealousy enrages a husband, and when he exacts his revenge, it's pretty harsh.
Prosecutors assert Pastor Griffin knew that Kim would be celebrating the completion of her criminology classes at the Elks Club and thought lover boy Mike would be there too. So after stopping by his friend's place to pick up some alcohol and establish an alibi, the Reverend grabbed his .38 revolver, drove to the Elks Club, and laid in wait. Around 11:15, Kim exited the club, but not with Mike, with Chris Miller.
Our sense was that he thought who he saw hugging Kim Griffin that night of the murder was just some random person named Mike. It ended up being Chris Miller. He saw, this exchange, this hug, and he was incensed with whatever Kim had going on.
After Chris and Kim said their goodbyes, Pastor Griffin followed Chris home, waited for him to park his truck, and then attacked the man he thought was sending those steamy text messages to his wife.
He walks up the steps, comes up behind, fires, hitting him in the back.
The disturbing part for me in this is that he killed somebody he didn't even know at all. Didn't even know his name. He thought he was some guy named Mike, and it was Kristopher Miller.
To support their theory, prosecutors submit the surveillance video, the eyewitness statements, and the .38 revolver and box of shells recovered from the Reverend's home. The state then calls its star eyewitness, Chris's sister, Lisa Miller, to the stand.
I had to testify, and I told him that Derek Griffin was parked outside the club, and I told him the statement that she had made to me.
It's my stalker over there. He just shows up.
Are you serious?
And I don't even know when. He just stands and watches. It's crazy.
It gave the impression that she saw Derek right across from the Elks Club watching her hug Chris Miller goodbye. And that was a powerful image.
But when it's the defense's turn, attorney Bruce Rivers argues that the eyewitness statements placing Pastor Griffin's car at the crime scene are dubious at best.
A white Cadillac in North Minneapolis is a little bit like a bicycle in China. There was at least 4 or 5 on any given day right around the Elks Club.
As for the state's star witness, Chris's sister Lisa Miller, Rivers claims her account of the evening can't be trusted.
She's had a few drinks, she's with friends, and they were laughing. So she didn't say like, oh, there's my husband, I'm afraid he's stalking me. They all laughed about it, and everybody agrees that it was said in a joking way.
After tackling the eyewitness statements, Rivers takes aim at the jealousy motive, which he asserts is a fantasy, at odds with Kim and Derek's real-life arrangement.
It wasn't a secret. He knew she saw somebody else, and she knew he saw somebody else. They had a mutual understanding.
It's a compelling argument, but before prosecutors rest their case, they will introduce a moving piece of evidence, one that brings some in the courtroom to tears and prompts another to avert his eyes in shame. In a courtroom packed to the gills, the state versus Pastor Derek Griffin for the murder of Chris Miller is coming to a close. After a withering assault on the state's case, it appears the defense has the momentum until prosecutors submit a shocking piece of evidence.
When the prosecutors showed the pictures of Kristopher Miller laying dead in the doorway of his grandmother's home, Derek Griffin actually picked his chair up and turned it around and would not look at the scenes.
That's really not the reaction of someone completely innocent.
That, I think, convinced a lot of people that they had been taken to the cleaners by Derek Griffin.
And with that, prosecutors rest their case. Less than 5 hours later, the jury returns with their verdict.
Derek Griffin was convicted of first-degree murder.
The judge sentences Derek to life in prison.
I was happy that he was found guilty for the crime.
Well, I do believe that he got what he deserved.
As the pastor is carted off to prison, many in the courtroom still can't believe this pillar of the community was capable of murder, especially one born out of a jealous rage.
The people are saying he's a minister, he'll be exonerated.
I couldn't believe that somebody that I grew up with would do anything like that, you know?
There are some close to the case who can't help but wonder if the crime's tawdry details have overshadowed the fact that a kind-hearted man was cut down in the prime of his life, just when he thought he had finally found true love.
I think part of the great tragedy is a good young man is dead through no fault of his own. and he just happened to fall for a woman who had a very jealous husband.
It was a big loss because if you lived long enough, you'd have made a difference around here.
He was a good man. That's what I like people to remember. He was a good man.